speaking of players of Richmond being interested in, it is being reported by Cameron Hicks, who I believe is a Tigers insider, that said that Richmond are one of the clubs James Peatling has met with. A little bit after he said that, it actually came out and did say that by Tom Morris that GWS had been confident this time last week that James Peatling would sign a fresh 3-year deal with the team. He still may, but he spent Sunday and yesterday in Melbourne meeting with Victorian-based clubs. Again, this is super interesting that the Tigers are finally actually linked to someone. You've got everyone and their dad trying to leave the team and no one wanted to come to the Tigers. Again, I don't know how much I'm going to look into this because at the end of the day, James Peatling is from Greater Western Sydney and they've only offered him a 3-year deal, but I think with Harry Perryman and Isaac Cumming most likely leaving, them probably doing a couple of adjusting. I think if a Victorian club is going to come and offer him 4 years, I wouldn't be surprised if GWS even look to try and match this deal. But the reality is that a team like the Tigers could very well use him. Now, it's hard to say what type of position James Peatling is in the AFL. It's because he's practically played all of them. Again, he spent a lot of time with the Giants as a sub. Then I think they played him a bit in the midfield and like on the wing. I think he spent time as like a high half forward. And then the final series, they had him as like another tagger who was helping Toby Bedford run with a couple players. And he was even able to go and hit the scoreboard with one of his games being a goal game and 15 disposals, and another being a 10 disposal game with 2 goals. This is a guy who is getting better and better every week, who went from one of the Giants sub to one of their more prominent midfielders by the end of the season. I don't necessarily know if they're going to let him go, but I think if the Tigers were looking at him, this is still another interesting decision by them, because they might be looking at it where they're thinking, we're like the only team in the AFL right now who doesn't have a tagger. We could bring in Peatling. He could play a bit of high half forward, a bit of wing for us. But ultimately, when we need to go and tag a player, he can go and start in that inside midfield with Taranto, maybe whoever we take at pick 1. Hopper might be in there. Prestia might be in there. Whoever we take with our other picks might be floating in there. We're going to have a lot of players who are going to be going into this inside midfield. And if they want to add another option in a guy like James Peatling, it could maybe be a decision that we go and look at. Again, I still get Vietnam flashbacks as a Tigers fan, knowing we offered, I guess, Tim Taranto 7 years, which is fine, but Jacob Hopper getting a 7-year contract to be kind of a dud right now for the Tigers still hurts my feelings and makes me want to jump off the biggest bridge in Melbourne. It literally does. Like, why did you do this to me, Jacob Hopper? But the reality is midfield for the Tigers is not their strong suit. As mentioned, they have pretty much, I think, easily the worst midfield in the game. Every Richmond fan will tell you they have the worst midfield in the game. Other than Taranto and Hopper, they really only have Prestia, who gets injured every week, right? They had Marlon Pickett in there, who's retired. They had Shea Bolton in there, who is no longer going to be on the team anymore. Not to mention one of Taranto or Hopper is always injured. Jack Ross was injured after the year. Jack Graham, who is probably going to be leaving. I don't even know what's going on with him anymore. We'll talk about that in another vid. The Tigers are going to be looking for some depth, right? Pick 1, they're going to be taking a midfielder. With their other first round picks they're going to be getting for these players, a bunch of midfielders are going to be getting taken. I've forgotten the guy's name who I'm talking about for some reason. Am I all there in the head? I don't know. If James Peatling wants to be a consistent full-time inside midfielder on a lot of money on 4 years, Richmond have the salary cap and the ability to go and do that. But if he wants to play on a contending team where he might get shuffled around here and there and be reduced as like a tagger for the most part, he's going to re-sign with GWS. But again, the thing is, he's from Greater Western Sydney, if I remember right. This is a smart decision by him if he wants to re-sign. A smart decision if he wants to maybe go to the Tigers. But also an interesting thing to theorize, who are these other Melbourne teams that are interested in James Peatling, right? Another team I feel like he will have met with does happen to be St Kilda. They are desperately trying to improve their midfield. We know that Jack McRae has requested a trade there. We know they launched this massive bid to go for Zach Merritt, which I don't think has really gone too far at all. And we know they will probably be looking at drafting a midfielder with their top pick. I wonder if they're arguing to Peatling right now and saying, we think we can make the 8. We just desperately need a midfield. You come to us, we'll give you a 4-year deal, confirm midfield time, and you can play with Jack Steele, Jack McRae, and whoever we draft, and we can actually try and build something good inside there. St Kilda could very well be one of those teams. Collingwood as well are looking to improve their midfield quite a fair bit. They're interested in his teammate Harry Perryman as well. They could be another team that maybe does come and look at him too. Again, I think Hawthorn have had a go at Harry Perryman in recent time. They're bringing in their backman in Barras and Battle. Do they tell Peatling and be like, well, we think we can add you to this midfield. We're looking for another midfielder. We think we can be like a premiership contender next year. Do you want to come to us? There will be a ton of Melbourne clubs I think will be interested in Peatling and meeting with him. I personally think he'll re-sign with GWS. But I wonder if Richmond are a chance to actually maybe make this happen. Not really too much of a trade, like, confirmation rumor here, but more of, like, a suggestion and rumor that I'm thinking of starting because I remember hearing about it. But there is a report here that does say that Gary Rowan is one of 7 Cats who have been delisted. And everyone's been talking about Gary Rowan being delisted on Geelong. But no one's talked about how Brandon Parfitt is amongst this list of players who have been delisted from Geelong, a guy who has played well over 100 games for Geelong since 2017 for them. Another guy who is literally a premiership player for them in 2022. And other than this year, has been in the best 22 of one of the best teams in the comp, like, his whole career. It's really weird to me to think that this guy legitimately just got delisted. And I'm sitting back here and I'm thinking, there is no way that Brandon Parfitt will not be on an AFL team next season. I think there will be about like 5 clubs who will legitimately go after him. And the reality is this is a man who has averaged like 18 to 20 disposals per game in a couple seasons and has been known to be able to hit the scoreboard as a midfielder. Some people will be like, why did he get delisted? Why did Geelong do it? The end of the day is he wasn't fitting into Geelong's midfield, which was already an average midfield. So they needed to look past him. And I think that's good, right? It makes sense. But the reality is he would be able to get a game on a bad team and he would be a good depth player for any contending team or a team looking to contend that would be looking for another player to take a fly on. I think Brandon Parfitt, there's a couple clubs I'm thinking of. First of all, Richmond, right? Richmond have one of the worst midfields, if not the worst midfield in the game. They've got Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper in there, but one of them is always injured, and they've got Dion Prestia in there, who is always injured as well. We know they're going to be hitting the draft pretty big and going after players, you know, like Jagger Smith, it looks like, Finn O'Sullivan potentially, Harvey Langford. End of the day, they'll probably be bringing in like 3 to 5 midfielders in this draft class. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Tigers go up to Brandon Parfitt and be like, look, we like what we see from you. We think maybe having you be a wingman for us, which we kind of need. Play some midfield as well, but maybe even players like a small forward for the Tigers as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they said to him, look, we'll give you like a 2-year deal and we can make this happen. There will 100% be a ton of other teams out there who will be interested in potentially trying to sign Brandon Parfitt, but I think Richmond will be one of those teams that will look at him as a guy who can not only play inside mid, maybe chuck him on the wing, and maybe even have him up forward, which I think the Tigers are kind of really lacking at literally every position. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment all of your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. Do you guys like some of these trade rumors and news that I've talked about, or do you guys not? Don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channels, which will be getting linked in the description down below. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.